If you want to find your purpose, you first have to be willing to take the necessary steps to feed the gifts that God gave you. Growing up, I loved art with a passion. I took art every year from my first grade year all the way up to my senior year in high school. I really thought that my passion, my purpose, was going to be rooted in art, painting, drawing, whatever the case may be. But see, in my senior year, what happened is I got to this place where art it wasn't fun anymore. I just didn't feel inspired anymore. I wasn't getting the ideas to draw new things, and it got boring. And what I really thought happened is I thought I just grew out of it. I thought maybe art was just a phase of my childhood, and it was something that was going to pass. But really, what started to happen is I lost that spark that was associated with art. And because I lost that spark, it died out. I want you to think of passion just like you would a fire. If you're not putting that firewood on there, if you're not putting that accelerant, that gasoline on there anymore, what's going to happen is that fire is going to slowly die down. And if you're not taking the necessary steps to feed it any longer, what's going to happen is it's going to eventually die out, and there's not going to be anything left but smoke and ashes. We see this same concept all the time in relationships. What happens is couples get together, they're in that puppy dog stage, everything's sweet, they're head over heels in love, the passion runs high, and they just love each other and they're inseparable. But what happens is the couple begins to get comfortable with each other. And when they get comfortable, they stop doing the necessary things to feed their relationship. And because they stop feeding that relationship, just like the fire, the flame starts to die down. Now, the same concept applies that I'm talking about with these God-given gifts. If they don't keep feeding that passion in that relationship and keep growing it, they're going to break up. But see, most people just think they grew apart, like I did with the art. But in truth, what actually happens is they lost their passion and they didn't take the necessary steps to feed that fire anymore. Let me take you over here to two basketball legends. We have Michael Jordan, we have Allen Iverson. Michael Jordan, of course, was a 6-time championship. We have Allen Iverson, who was another really gifted basketball player. Both of these players were extremely gifted, otherwise they would have never made it to the NBA. Their success in the sport was determined by the level of passion that they held for the sport. Michael Jordan, he was a 6-time championship winner with the Chicago Bulls. Part of that was due to the passion and the effort that he put into the sport. He was always the first one to the practice and the last one to leave. No one could outwork Michael Jordan when it came to the sport. Now let's take Allen Iverson. Again, very, very gifted in the sport. But what happened is he got to a certain place in the sport where he felt like he had reached his height. He felt like he couldn't grow anymore. Felt like he didn't need to grow anymore. And because of that, he stopped showing up to the practices. And because he stopped feeding his flame, his passion for the sport died down. And we can see that his career, the heights that he reached, the potential that he could have reached was never achieved because of it. This was the same thing that happened when it came to my art career. I loved art, but what I got to is I got to a place where I thought that God had gifted me with this, so I didn't need to feed it anymore. And because I didn't need to feed it because it was a gift from God, I stopped growing. And because I stopped growing, I stopped learning new skills with the art. And because I stopped learning new skills, I kept doing the same drawings over and over again, and it got boring to me. So the key here is, if you want to step into that purpose that God gave you, you have to take those gifts that God gave you. You have to be willing to put in the work to grow them. By doing that, you grow into the purpose that He designed you for so that you can be of service and help someone else.